Perhaps never before in the main series games until his emergence had we seen a gym leader quite as jolly as today's trainer, Wattson, the current electric-type gym leader of Mauville City and the third gym leader that we ever face in our journey through the Hoenn region. Wattson has the official title of the Cheerfully Electrifying Man and presides over the Dynamo badge. Although many citizens of Mauville find Wattson to be quite eccentric and his students refer to him as a coot, there is definitely more to Wattson's character and story than him merely being a jolly old man. Typically, gym leaders throughout the main series games merely occupied a position at a city's gym by virtue of their accomplishments as a trainer. But Wattson, well, the accomplishments part is true, but what's interesting about him is that he was actually the one who founded Mauville City to begin with. In fact, in the Generation 3 games, Wattson actually mentions that he had plans to convert and expand the city too, but says that the plans failed and he instead used some of the resources to create the door traps in his gym. Of course, in the Ruby and Sapphire remakes in Gen 6, it turns out that Wattson's plans did eventually succeed, as Mauville City has been completely overhauled into a massive indoor city with multiple floors and numerous shops. Interestingly, Wattson was a project leader for a company called Greater Mauville Holdings, where he was involved in 2 other mega development projects, but both of them failed. The first was called New Mauville, which survived as a power plant for Mauville City, which Wattson sends the player to in order to fix the city's generator. However, New Mauville was initially intended to be a subterranean city extension of Mauville City that was intended to be 69 floors below ground. No, I'm not kidding, that is the exact number. However, the project died in development apparently due to issues with the environment and Pokemon. The second project Wattson was a part of was one called Sea Mauville, which was meant to be a research facility in the middle of the ocean meant to extract natural resources. However, partially due to the New Mauville project collapsing, the resources weren't there to complete Sea Mauville, so it was scheduled for demolition, which Wattson was meant to be a part of. However, it was noticed that the abandoned building was serving as a new habitat for Pokemon, so it was left as is. Inventive, resourceful, and very hard-working, Wattson's jolly nature might come as a bit of a surprise given all that he has been involved with on such a high level, including founding a city after all. But he never fails to maintain a positive and energetic demeanor, even being incredibly supportive of the player's journey, even when they defeat him. Given his status in both Pokemon, development, and the business world, we know that Wattson is a tough guy. But how strong is he as a trainer? Using all of Wattson's appearances in the main series games, it's time to find out Wattson's capabilities by establishing his best possible team. It's time to find out his true power. The first time we encounter Wattson occurs in the original Gen 3 games Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, where he serves as the third gym leader we're intended to face in our journey through Hoenn. In this battle, Wattson starts off with a Magnemite at level 22, followed by a Voltorb at level 20, and a Magneton at level 23. Between Thunder Wave, Self-Destruct, and Supersonics, this battle can actually be quite troublesome for novice trainers. But Wattson was definitely holding back and scaling his team down to account for weaker trainers with low gym badge counts. Before we get to his stronger appearances, it's worthy to note that we can also battle Wattson under these same circumstances in Ruby and Sapphire's remakes Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, where he actually has a slightly weaker team with his Magnemite and Voltorb at level 19 and his Magneton at level 21. In these games, we can also find a Plusle and Minun wandering around Wattson's apartment, but perhaps we'll learn more about those a little bit later. Unfortunately, these remakes don't give us the chance to rematch him, but that definitely does not mean that he's done showing us his capabilities. Wattson's next found in the Generation 3 third version game Pokemon Emerald, where he can be battled on multiple occasions, unlike in the original games. In the first battle, despite the fact that we encounter him under similar circumstances for our third badge, Wattson's team has changed quite a bit, with 2 new Pokemon even. In this battle, he has his level 20 Voltorb, a new level 20 Electrike, his Magneton now at level 22, and finally a brand new Manectric at level 24, which even holds a Citrus Berry, effectively giving it a little bit more bulk. Although this is probably his best appearance thus far, he hasn't even begun to show us what he's really capable of. But thankfully, Emerald has a way of doing just that. In Pokemon Emerald, after the player becomes the champion, they can return to Wattson's gym where he can be battled in 4 different doubles rematches that get incrementally more difficult. They start with his Pokemon in the late 30s and early 40s in terms of levels. Since his team steadily builds up in terms of levels and evolutions throughout the 4 rematches, for our purposes it's only necessary to look at the final rematch in which he's become far more powerful and no longer appears to be holding back. In our fourth and final rematch with Wattson in Emerald, he begins with a brand new Electabuzz at level 50, a brand new Raichu at level 51, a new Ampharos at level 51, his now fully evolved Electrode at level 53, his Magneton now at level 53, and finally his Manectric now at a whopping level 55. Now that we've begun to get a sense of what Wattson is really capable of, let's check out his final appearance in the main series games. Wattson's final main series appearance occurs in Gen 5's Black 2 and White 2, where he takes part in the Pokemon World Tournament. He can be found battling in 3 different tournament styles where he rotates between 2 different teams of 6. Don't forget that the World Tournament automatically sets all Pokemon to level 50, but we can get a great idea of new additions to his collection and how competitive his Pokemon have become since Gen 3. In the Hoenn Leaders Tournament, Wattson starts with his signature Manectric, followed by his now fully evolved Magnezone, which evolved from his Magneton of course, his Electrode, a brand new Plusle, and Minun, likely showing that the Plusle and Minun in his apartment in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were indeed his, and finally his Raichu. In the Type Expert and World Leaders tournaments, Wattson has his Manectric, Magnezone, Electrode, a brand new Rotom in its wash form, his Ampharos, and finally his Raichu. Not only do we get to see some likely regional travel that Wattson's done in these tournaments, but his Pokemon also have super competitive movesets now too, such as his Ampharos holding an Expert Belt along with Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Bulldoze, and Brick Break for example. It's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Using all of his appearances in the main series games, let's construct Wattson's best possible team. The first pick for Wattson's best team is going to go to his Magnezone from his Black 2 and White 2 Pokemon World Tournament teams, in which it's automatically set to level 50. However, given that his Magneton was level 53 back in the events of Emerald, we know that he must have leveled it up at least 1 level to evolve it, meaning we know this thing is at least level 54 now. Magnezone is currently in the OU or Overused tier in competitive battling, the second best tier after Ubers. Magnezone has a great typing and some great base stats too, with an insane 130 special attack, a fantastic 115 defense, 90 in special defense, a decent 70 HP, and a mediocre 60 speed. Wattson has some great moves on his in the tournament such as Stab Thunderbolt and Stab Flash Cannon, along with Toxic and Protect for utility. Since that time, however, Wattson could have definitely updated his movesets with moves like Stab Volt Switch for pivoting capabilities and Substitute as well. He also had the Air Balloon item on it, which makes it immune to ground attacks, which is a major 4x weakness otherwise. Magnezone is a bulky and hugely powerful Pokemon with some great utility potential too. The second spot on Wattson's best team is going to go to his Rotom Wash from his Type Expert and World Leaders World Tournament team, in which it's automatically set to level 50+. However, since this is the biggest challenge he has ever faced and all the rest of his Pokemon in the World Tournament that we know the level of are at level 51+, it's safe to assume his Rotom Wash is around there too. In its wash form, Rotom is currently also in the Overused tier in competitive battling and has a fantastic base stat spread with a massive 107 in defense and special defense, along with a fantastic 105 in special attack, a good 86 in speed, and a mediocre 50 HP. Where Rotom Wash really shines though is its typing and ability. Since it has the Levitate ability, it's no longer weak to ground, which is really useful for this team especially, meaning it only has one weakness, Grass. Wattson has a great moveset on his with Stab Thunder and Hydro Pump, along with Hex for coverage and Will-O-Wisp for utility. Personally, I'd probably change Thunder to Thunderbolt for more accuracy, and Pain Split would also be a great option over Hex for more recovery capabilities. Rotom performs a great specially offensive yet super bulky and defensive role for the team, which is much needed given the frail nature of most electric types. And the third pick is going to go to Wattson's Electabuzz from his Pokemon Emerald rematch battle, in which it's at level 50. However, since it's been over a decade since that appearance, not only is it probably a higher level, but he's probably also evolved it to an Electivire by now. Especially since back then, Electabuzz's evolution had merely not been discovered yet. Electivire is currently untiered in competitive battling, but in my opinion is highly underrated. Electivire's base stats include a fantastic 75 to 123, with the latter being its attack, in everything but defense, which is a passable 67. This means that it can be a relatively fast mixed attacker, something which is very rare to find. Back in the Emerald days, Wattson's moveset on his Electabuzz is quite outdated, but it could definitely have been updated since then with great stab moves like Volt Switch and Thunderbolt, or even Wild Charge, along with either Flamethrower, Earthquake, Focus Blast, Ice Punch, etc. The options are almost endless with such a versatile attacker, and it can definitely cover a lot of the type bases that Wattson's team needs. The fourth spot is going to go to Wattson's Manectric from his Emerald Final rematch, in which it's at level 55, but has probably been trained even more since then. Manectric currently stands in the PU tier, the second last tier in competitive battling. Now, one note we should make here is that Watson's Pokemon Masters canon story has not yet been revealed, but if it is revealed that he has Manectric's Mega Stone, that would of course allow him to have a Mega Manectric to add to this team, but that's yet to be determined. Manectric itself is a very powerful and very speedy threat with 105 in both special attack and speed, along with the Lightning Rod ability for a chance to boost its special attack even further. Just like Electivire, Watson's old moveset is kind of outdated, but Thunder Wave can be kept to outspeed and paralyze opponents, along with the potential for moves like Stab Thunderbolt and Volt Switch, and coverage moves like Overheat or Flamethrower, Hyper Voice, or even a Toxic and Protect combo. Manectric adds some great speed and power to the team, but is definitely a little bit frail. And the second last spot on Watson's best team is going to go to his Raichu from his final Emerald rematch, in which it's at level 51+. Raichu is currently untiered in competitive battling, and with its base stats it kind of fulfills a similar role to Manectric in that it has a wicked speed and good offensive capabilities, with 90 in both attack and special attack. Raichu would probably operate best on this team as a physical attacker, just as he uses it in the Hoenn Leaders Tournament, as Watson only has one other physical attacker in Electivire on his team. For this role, Raichu could run something like Stab Volt Tackle, Brick Break, or a Substitute and Focus Punch combination, along with possibly Encore for utility or Grass Knot for greater coverage against heavy ground types. And the final pick for Watson's best team is going to go to none other than Watson's Electrode from his final Pokemon Emerald match, in which it's at level 53+. Electrode is of course also untiered, but it does have one of the highest speed stats in the game with a whopping 150, only to be outdone by 4 other Pokemon. Electrode's moveset is certainly outdated in Emerald, with perhaps only Explosion being worthy of keeping, but on this team I really see it attempting to help out with the team's defenses by running dual screens, Light Screen and Reflect, which it can set up quite easily with its insane speed, and perhaps if Watson has a Light Clay item he can make this last even longer. Aside from that, you can never go wrong with the stab move, so I'd opt for Thunderbolt here over Thunder for higher accuracy. Electrode really helps an otherwise frail team, and its speed is definitely something to contend with. Although this is definitely Watson's best team, he does have a few other Pokemon that are worth mentioning, as they could definitely be put on the team depending on who he's battling. First is his level 51+ Ampharos, which is a really cool Pokemon and fairly bulky, but its terrible speed definitely does not help it at all, and as such it's outclassed by Pokemon like Magnezone. Next up is his level 51 Plusle, whose base stats are quite atrocious aside from its speed and special attack, so it's outclassed by his other special sweepers like Manectric. Finally, his level 51+ Minun is basically in the same position as Plusle, except its special attack is even worse. Well, there we go everyone, we have discovered Watson's true power and unveiled his strongest possible team in the main series games. If you enjoyed this video and are looking forward to more from this series, please be sure to leave a like, share it on social media, and subscribe with notifications on by hitting that bell icon if you haven't already. All forms of support help a ton and are super appreciated. Don't forget to comment down below with what trainer you wish to see featured next. The comment with the most likes will pick the trainer for the next week's episode and will be featured on screen. Before we go, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you enjoy my content and would like to support the channel and get some cool perks, the link to my Patreon page will be in the description below. This has been SylSpectre, and I'll see you guys next time for some more True Power.